Hi, my name is Casandra. Stay tuned on the Parker Daniels Show.
Welcome to the Parker Daniels Show. I am Anthony Parker, and I'm happy to have my co-host Kim Daniels with me. How you doing, Kim?
Doing great. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Doing okay. Getting ready for this basketball game coming up at 5 o'clock. LSU is playing, so I hope they're undefeated right now. So hopefully they'll pull it out against South Carolina. Are you a basketball fan?
Go LSU.
Are you a basketball fan?
Nope. I can't stand the sport.
Oh, you can't stand? But you ready for the Saints game tomorrow, huh?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, anyway. We're going to get on with the topic at hand.
You get mad because the Cowboys lost last weekend?
Anyway, we have a guest on the line today. How you doing, Casandra? Are you, by any means, I know you're not a Saints fan, but are you a football fan, a basketball fan, anything like that?
Nah, not really.
No, not really. Not into sports?
Nah, but I do like the Minnesota Vikings because of the royal purple color.
Oh, my God. Kim. Oh, my God.
Vikings fan.
What a way to pick a team because of the colors.
Anyway, I guess I'm outnumbered. I'm still a Cowboys fan. But anyway, today we have Casandra. Kim, she's all the way from the great state of Massachusetts, Boston, the city of Boston. And to give you a little detail about her, she's a deafblind advocate in Massachusetts. She's originally from Florida, great state of Florida. She attended mainstream school, and she was deaf. She was born deafblind. Am I right, Casandra?
Yep.
She also teaches specialty for the blind and visually impaired in Massachusetts. She teaches various types of assistive technology to students with varying needs, and she also provides presentations for agencies who are looking to procure these different devices. And she also is she also studies she speaks sign language, American Sign Language, and what else? There's just a lot of things that she does, and I'm along with my co-host is glad to have her. Welcome to the show, Casandra. Excuse me.
Thanks.
Well, Kim, you want to take over for a second while I clear my throat?
Yeah, well, I mean, you gave her whole life story. Now, shucks, she ain't got nothing to say. But, Cassandra, give us a little bit more information about your life story, your background and all that.
Well, when I grew up, I went to all mainstream schools. I went to school with hearing and sighted students. I was pretty much the only deaf-blind oral student there all through college. So I didn't have access to services like Perkins School for the Blind, which was like literally one town over from where I live. Nowhere did anyone mention any of these useful resources to me. So I struggled, unfortunately. I think it was unnecessary struggle. But once I turned 24, I got so sick and tired of being left in the dark, like literally left in the lurch to fall through the cracks. I fought for everything I needed, and I made it work for me once I got myself to a certain skill set. I don't know what motivated me to do this, but something just kept pushing me. And when I fought for everything I needed, which I'm still fighting for, equal access to stuff for myself and many others, I became strong enough to be able to, or efficient enough to be able to help other people find their voice. I've always noticed that if it's anything, my voice seems to probably be the only thing that someone can hear from miles away when I'm sick and tired of nonsense. Because usually I'm pretty quiet, but once my voice is heard, it's true business.
Right.
Okay, we're going to touch on that in a minute. Just briefly, can you tell us if you were born blind, or partially deaf? Because most people, when they hear people who speak or who are deaf, they kind of and I'm sorry if I offend anybody. The speech is kind of off, but you definitely speak very clear. So can you give us some insight into that?
Oh, sure. So I was born with deafness. My right ear, I'm completely deaf in that from birth. No cochlea or anything on that side. And my left ear, damaged cochlea and slight progressive loss of hearing. So it is going slowly, but I'm addressing it. But I went through speech therapy for years, up until I was about 13 years old. From early on, like really early years, like a lot of the days in school was spent in speech therapy instead of learning sign language. This is something that would offend a lot of deaf and hard of hearing people, is when you try to fix someone by giving them speech therapy and cochlear implant. But if you were not told that that was not okay, you would have gone with it because you were not aware. So people who aren't aware of this should not be penalized for that.
That's interesting.
So, now, I have a question. I wanted to find out, it's something that has been on my mind. Now, so I know, you have the regular ASL? Sign language. Yeah, ASL. Okay, for normal deaf people and everything. Now, how is it different from the ASL from somebody who is also blind?
Yeah,
how
it's
does that
different.
Work?
So basically, for someone who's blind that's doing sign language, there are two different methods. There is close vision signing for someone with limited vision like myself. And then there's also hand-over-hand method, which is for someone who's totally blind or nearly totally blind, practically, that would have to follow the gestures and the shapes of the hands to
I'm familiar with that, yeah. Like you'll do a sign and then the blind person will put their hand over it.
So it's a slower communication then, huh?
Yeah, it's slower, but it gets the message across. And if someone is saying yes, you do a slight yes gesture on the person's shoulder. And if someone's doing no, you do a slight no gesture on their shoulder or leg.
Okay.
And if you're deaf, if you're blind and you want to follow, you want to make sure that the person who's talking to you understands, you just do a slight double tap over their hand, because your hands are over theirs and you want to make sure that they know that you're following. So you just do a double tap on their hand that says, yes, I'm following along, or I understand.
Okay. I've worked with a couple of deaf individuals, and I'm definitely familiar in terms of what you're speaking of. You had spoken earlier about, I did in the monologue, that you work with several agencies to get to procure different devices and what have you. How successful has that been in terms of trying to get what these individuals need to?
So the success rate for that was pretty good. We understand that everyone has different needs when it comes to procuring certain devices for those with blindness and other types of disabilities.
Yeah.
It was just mainly the agency being kind of curious about the cost of it. They thought they had to buy a whole batch for everybody, but it was no, just a certain amount of people you think would be beneficial, that would benefit from it. College students or active people that are out every day that need a certain device. The presentation has been quite convincing, and I've taught people how to use the device, along with, done some training sessions on it as well.
Okay.
In the Boston area.
So you work in school, go to schools, or just people may call up and say, well, I need a certain device, and could you link me with the person whom I can speak with to try to get it, or how do you work?
They come to me, or I would meet with them at the local agency.
Right.
And we would have that allocated amount of time, 45 minutes to an hour, to train on.
Okay.
As an
So, with that being said, you also deal with legislations and whatnot to try to pass for individuals who are impaired as well?
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So, it's kind of complex because Massachusetts is kind of different about the way they do things now. Everything is like budget, 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 which we understand, but
that's how it is down here.
Yeah, it's really, really like tight. So they say. So they're really particular about who they give these devices to and how much time we're allowed to use with individuals that need a certain device.
Okay. So, Kim, you have any questions for her?
Well, what kind of legislations have you put forth in trying to help those of us with disabilities and handicaps?
So my first legislative bill that I put forth was an act relative to disability awareness training. Yes, I understand there are millions of legislations like that, but this one, it stands out a bit different from whatever else is there. This legislation protects the equipment of those with disabilities and even some without disabilities. Just the fact that these things are expensive, and a lot of the time it's an agency that pays for the equipment or a company and not the person themselves. Right. So when you go through TSA or whatever, part of me, I guess the Boston accent is creeping out because every time I talk about it, it's unnerving because a lot of things go broken that you didn't come in there broken. You know, it didn't come with you broken, but you leave with it broken.
Right.
So legislation protects the equipment and persons with disabilities. You know, they treat the stuff the way they ask you to treat it. Like if you have a bag, for example, you got a bag full of assistive tech, you know, Braille displays, you know how fragile those are, MacBooks or Windows machines or anything that you use that's extremely sensitive and expensive. TSA, they don't really care about your stuff, so they just toss it around like it's nothing. And when you open your bag after getting to your destination, you find it broken. Then you try to call to hold somebody responsible for it, and everyone just brushes you off.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. And you know, the agencies are, you know, they're really like, well, if we gave you something, it's yours. It breaks, it's all your fault. And so now you're out of distance communication equipment. You can't do your work because it's broken. So this legislation is supposed to hold these folks responsible for damaging your stuff.
That's good. That's good.
And so one way or another, you're going to get a replacement or a repair of that stuff that got broken by people in the airport. Point blank, period.
Oh, that's good. That's very helpful.
Well, Casandra, what made you become an advocate for individuals who are impaired? Is it, you know? Well, I'll let you answer the question.
What made me become an advocate was, you know, many years ago, I've always been someone that like spoke out against things that people spoke out for things that people were nervous about approaching or just were not well informed about, so they pretty much ignore it. So I said, I want to teach you guys something, but not do it in such an aggressive way. So it's kind of like that, you know, being the only person in a family with disabilities and having to always speak up for yourself, otherwise you just get snowballed into a bunch of nonsense. That's where it all started. It starts from home, speaking up for yourself, making sure your voice is clear as day. And being very particular about your needs.
I mean, they need more people such as yourself to actually, you know, speak up for those who may be a bit leery about speaking out or just don't have the confidence to actually do it. So I commend you strongly on that, right, Kim?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So what do you what you have any things that you do in the projected future, like you want to try to advocate or put into motion that you haven't gotten yet?
I want to make some more legislation that would be beneficial to the entire general population, pretty much. People keep saying stuff like, oh, you should probably run for governor. I got your vote. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm sorry.
Too much work, huh?
Well, it's not that it's too much work. It's just the political stuff is really disgusting, and I don't want to be in that yuckiness.
Okay.
I've always been the kind of person that stands out, and this is the perfect time to not be involved in that messy ingredients.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to just keep my feet clean as much as possible. I'll be an advocate. I'll go around from state to state, but I don't want to be tied down to some like office where people come over expecting me to be like this miracle worker.
Right.
I'm not.
Right.
You know, I want people to understand that I'm not a miracle worker, but I do the best I can. You know, I try.
Well, from what
can't fix it.
From what from what we hear, you're doing a great job and whatever.
Yes,
I
definitely.
As well as Kim, we definitely commend you on that. So I'm glad to have you on here, and definitely let the people know basically in your area what you're doing, and in the states, you know, your neighboring states probably can benefit from what you are definitely doing, and what have you. So with that being said, do you have any closing words for the people in terms of, you know, some who are not as motivated as you are to get up and get out and do something?
Well, the only thing I can say to everyone who's listening would be is make sure you make sure your voice is clear. Got to make sure you're very clear about what your needs are, and make sure you're very clear about communication. Make sure people understand what your wants and needs are when necessary, and be very clear. Just point blank period. Be very clear with communication. When you say yes is yes, when you say no is no, or when you need help, be very, very clear about what you need help with. What is it do you want? What do you need? How are you going to get it? Make a plan on how you're going to get it, and be realistic about it.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
You know, even if itty-bitty steps count, is better than nothing at all.
I like that. Definitely.
Yes.
Well, in closing, I'll pass the torch to my co-host and let her say some final words, because I enjoyed the interview, and I wish you the best of luck. And hopefully in a couple of months or so, after you pass some more legislations, and you really, right now you don't want to be a governor, but you have become governor, please don't forget about this show. So with that being said, Kim, hit them with the hot shot.
Definitely. Casandra, keep up the great work. We do appreciate everything that you have put forward in advocating for those of us who are visually impaired or deaf. It's a great responsibility on your shoulders, but we do appreciate it, and you know, keep up the great work.
Thank you.
No, thank you for coming and contacting us. And with that being said, to the audience, please continue to subscribe to the Parker Daniel Show. You will get interesting interviews and more and more great stuff. Hit that like button, the notification bell, so that you can get updates, comments, follow, share, and tell a friend. So with that being said, Kim, you want to tell them bye? She don't want to tell y'all bye. She wants to stay forever.
Wait, what did you say?
You want to tell them bye?
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't say bye, but talk to y'all soon.
Talk to y'all soon. Yep. And go Cowboys, right, y'all?
Cowboys are done.
For next year. I appreciate it, y'all. Y'all be easy.
All right.
Hey, my name is Casandra. I hope you like the show on the Parker Daniels Show. Please remember to like and share. Thank you.